The most destructive force in professional wrestling isn't always the enemy standing across the ring from you. Sometimes it's the brother who has stood beside you through every battle, every championship, every moment of glory and defeat. What happened on Monday Night Raw sent shockwaves through the wrestling world that are still reverberating today, and if you think you've seen family drama in WWE before, you haven't seen anything like this. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you won't want to miss any of the explosive content coming your way. The atmosphere inside the arena was electric as the Battle Royal got underway. 20 superstars entered that ring with one singular goal in mind: to eliminate every other competitor and earn a shot at championship glory. Among those 20 men were two brothers who had shared more moments together than most teams could ever dream of. Jimmy USO and JEY had been tag team champions multiple times, had main event countless shows, and had carried the legacy of their legendary family on their shoulders for over a decade. They had an unspoken understanding, a bond forged not just in blood but in the countless hours spent perfecting their craft inside the squared circle. The early moments of the Battle Royal played out exactly as fans might have expected. Bodies were flying over the top rope left and right as superstars looked to thin the competition. Jimmy and G were working together seamlessly, watching each other's backs and eliminating threats with the kind of efficiency that only comes from years of experience working as a cohesive unit. They moved like a well-oiled machine, communicating with nothing more than glances and subtle gestures. Every time someone tried to attack one brother, the other was right there to break it up. They were demonstrating exactly why the USO name carries so much weight in professional wrestling. As the numbers dwindled and the competition grew more intense, the remaining superstars began to realize that separating the USOs would be key to winning the match. Several competitors tried to isolate Jimmy on one side of the ring while others went after G, but the brothers kept finding ways to regroup and fight back to each other. The crowd was fully invested in watching these two navigate the dangerous waters of the Battle Royal while maintaining their alliance. There was something special about seeing family stand together in the face of overwhelming odds, and the fans were eating up every second of it. Then came the moment that would change everything. The Battle Royal had reached its crucial stage with only a handful of competitors remaining. Jimmy found himself locked in combat near the ropes with another superstar, trading blows back and forth in a heated exchange. The positioning was precarious, both men teetering dangerously close to elimination. G was across the ring dealing with his own opponent, but he managed to break free and turned his attention toward his brother. The crowd anticipated G rushing over to help Jimmy secure an elimination, to continue the teamwork that had gotten them this far in the match. What happened instead was something nobody could have predicted. G charged across the ring with purpose and intensity, but instead of attacking Jimmy's opponent, he went straight for his own brother. The impact was devastating as G crashed into Jimmy with full force, catching him completely off guard. Jimmy's eyes went wide with shock and confusion as he felt his brother's hands on him, not to help but to harm. Before Jimmy could process what was happening or mount any kind of defense, G used all his momentum to send his brother up and over the top rope. Jimmy crashed to the floor outside the ring, eliminated from the Battle Royal not by an enemy but by his own flesh and blood. The arena erupted in a mixture of shocked gasps and stunned silence. Nobody could believe what they had just witnessed. The cameras caught Jimmy's face as he sat on the floor outside the ring, a look of complete betrayal and devastation etched across his features. This wasn't just about losing a match or missing out on a championship opportunity. This was about trust shattered, about brotherhood broken, about a bond that seemed unbreakable being destroyed in front of millions of viewers. Jimmy slowly got to his feet, his eyes locked on G inside the ring, searching for any explanation, any sign that this was some kind of mistake. But G wasn't looking at Jimmy with regret or remorse. His expression was cold and determined, showing no emotion as he turned away from his brother and refocused on the remaining competitors in the match. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of what he had just done, nothing to suggest that eliminating his own brother caused him even a moment of hesitation. G went right back into battle mode, throwing strikes and looking for his next elimination as if he hadn't just committed one of the most shocking acts of betrayal in recent WWE history. The callousness of it all made the moment even more impactful and disturbing. Jimmy stood outside the ring for several long moments, unable to move, unable to tear his eyes away from what was happening inside the ring. His brother, his partner, his family was continuing to fight without him as if he meant nothing. The referees began ushering Jimmy back toward the entrance ramp, but he resisted, still watching G with a mixture of hurt and growing anger building inside him. You could see the wheels turning in Jimmy's head as the initial shock began to wear off and the reality of what had happened started to sink in. His brother had chosen personal glory over family loyalty, and that was a betrayal that cut deeper than any superkick or suplex ever could. The Battle Royal continued with G still in the mix, fighting tooth and nail to win the entire thing. There was a ruthless efficiency to his movements now, a willingness to do whatever it took to achieve victory. He eliminated another competitor, then another, working his way closer to winning the entire match. The irony wasn't lost on anyone watching that G's path to potential victory had started with eliminating the one person who should have been able to trust him completely. Every move G made from that point forward was tainted by what he had done to Jimmy, and even as he fought his way toward the finals of the Battle Royal, the betrayal hung heavy over everything. When JEY was eventually eliminated from the match himself, falling short of ultimate victory, there was a certain poetic justice to it. He had sacrificed his relationship with his brother for a chance at glory, and in the end, he didn't even achieve that goal. As JEY made his way up the entrance ramp after his elimination, the cameras captured Jimmy still standing in the backstage area, arms crossed, staring daggers at his brother as he approached. The two stood face to face for a tense moment, neither one saying a word, the tension between them so thick you could cut it with a knife. Then Jimmy simply shook his head in disgust and walked away, leaving JEY standing alone with the consequences of his actions. The fallout from this betrayal began immediately. Social media exploded with reactions from fans, fellow superstars, and wrestling personalities all weighing in on what they had just witnessed. Some tried to understand JEY's perspective, arguing that in an every person for themselves match, family loyalty shouldn't be expected to factor into the competition. Others condemned JEY's actions as unforgivable, pointing out that Jimmy clearly wasn't expecting his own brother to eliminate him based on the shocked reaction and the fact that they had been working together throughout the entire match up until that point. The debate raged across every platform as people tried to make sense of what they had seen. The history between Jimmy and JEY made this betrayal even more significant. These weren't just brothers who happened to both be wrestlers. They had been a tag team for the majority of their careers, achieving incredible success together and being recognized as one of the greatest tag teams of their generation. They had faced adversity together, celebrated victories together, and built a legacy together. Their connection to their family, particularly to Roman Reigns and the larger Bloodline storyline, had dominated WWE programming for years. Through all of that, one constant had been the bond between the USO brothers themselves. That foundation had now been shaken to its core. Interviews conducted backstage after the match only added more fuel to the fire. Jimmy was asked about what happened, and his response was measured but filled with barely contained emotion. He talked about always having his brother's back, about the sacrifices he had made for the team, about the trust that he thought was unbreakable. His voice was steady but you could hear the pain underneath every word. He didn't make excuses for JEY or try to rationalize what had happened. He simply stated facts and made it clear that something fundamental had changed between them in that ring. The interviewer tried to ask if he could ever forgive JEY, but Jimmy just walked away without answering, leaving the question hanging in the air. When JEY was interviewed, his demeanor was completely different. He showed no remorse for his actions, instead doubling down on the decision he had made. He talked about being tired of living in anyone's shadow, tired of being seen as just one half of a tag team instead of as an individual superstar. He claimed that eliminating Jimmy was about his own career, his own future, his own legacy. The words were harsh and calculated, designed to justify his betrayal by framing it as a necessary step for his personal growth. He suggested that Jimmy would have done the same thing if the positions were reversed, though nothing in their history together supported that claim. JEY's comments made it clear that this wasn't a heat-of-the-moment decision or an accident. This was intentional, and he stood by it. The WWE Universe found itself divided in the aftermath. Some fans appreciated the storyline development and the complexity it added to both characters. They saw it as an opportunity for both brothers to show different sides of themselves, with JEY embracing a more ruthless attitude and Jimmy potentially channeling his hurt into a more aggressive approach. Other fans were genuinely upset by what they had witnessed, feeling that breaking up one of the most successful and beloved tag teams in WWE was a mistake. Comment sections and forums were filled with passionate debates about whether this was good storytelling or a betrayal of what made the USO special in the first place. The implications for both superstars moving forward are enormous. For Jimmy, this betrayal represents an opportunity to step out as a singles competitor in a way he hasn't done extensively before. His motivation is clear and his character has been given tremendous depth through this storyline. He's no longer just the fun-loving member of a successful tag team. He's a man who has been wronged by the person he trusted most in the world, and that kind of motivation can drive incredible character work and compelling matches. How he chooses to respond to what JEY did, whether through confrontation or by focusing on his own success, will define the next chapter of his career. For JEY, the betrayal has painted him as someone willing to do whatever it takes to achieve success, even if that means destroying family bonds in the process. This could be the beginning of a true heel turn for JEY, embracing the role of villain and using this moment as the catalyst for a more aggressive and selfish character. Alternatively, he might eventually show cracks in his facade, suggesting that the guilt over what he did to Jimmy is eating away at him even if he won't admit it publicly. Either direction offers rich storytelling possibilities that could play out over months of programming. The question on everyone's mind now is where this goes next. Will there be a match between the brothers to settle their differences inside the ring? Will they be forced to interact due to their connection to other members of their family? Could there eventually be a reconciliation storyline where they work through their issues and rebuild their trust? Or is this the permanent end of the USOs as a team, with both men going their separate ways and possibly feuding for an extended period? All of these scenarios are possible, and each one carries its own potential for drama and compelling television. The Battle Royal elimination that shocked the wrestling world was more than just a surprising moment in a match. It was a statement about ambition, about family, about the lengths someone will go to achieve their goals even when it means hurting the people closest to them. USO made a choice that night, and that choice has consequences that will ripple through WWE programming for a long time to come. Whether fans agree with the decision from a storytelling perspective or not, nobody can deny that it was effective in creating genuine emotion and investment in what happens next. The relationship between Jimmy and USO will never be the same after what transpired in that battle royal. Trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to rebuild, and the very public nature of this betrayal makes it even more complicated. Every future interaction between these brothers will be viewed through the lens of this moment, this choice, this betrayal. The foundation of one of WWE's most successful tag teams has crumbled, and what rises from those ruins remains to be seen. One thing is certain though, the wrestling world will be watching closely to see how this story continues to unfold. Make sure you stay subscribed to this channel because we'll be following every development in this incredible storyline as it continues to evolve and keeping you updated on all the latest news and analysis from the world of WWE.